Welcome to Real Talks with Pinks. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I told you in the last video, we are back and officially we have our first guest for 2024. How honored is that?
Yeah, it is.
I've been wanting to bring her on the show, but as you know, people are busy booking flights and traveling and doing whatever else they are doing. I have a powerhouse today, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, and then I will introduce our topic for the day. Ma'am?
Thank you very much, Pinks. My name is Mpoi Nkhasi. I prefer also to be called Mahat, like I call Manyana, but anyway, my name is Mpoi Nkhasi. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Yes. Interesting. Now I know what to call you. So guys, as you know, I'm quite passionate about young people that are doing well in their careers and that love and are passionate about their jobs. So I brought Mpoi on the show to talk about her career. And today we're going to talk about her career journey and see how she started and where she is today. So ma'am, let's get straight into it. I know you are a regulatory lawyer. Can you just tell us what is regulatory law and ICT mobile, and then tell us how you got into this regulatory law?
Okay, thank you very much, Pinks. So regulatory law is nothing other than administrative law, really. You know, it speaks to regulations, rules, laws that govern a particular sector. Right, it could touch on, and these are the key pillars that I would want to speak to because industries are different. It could touch on the licensing framework, could touch on consumer protection, competition management, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's basically what it is and how I transitioned into it. So yes, I started my career in the legal department. Mm-hmm. And I was in legal as a specialist contracts. I think that's what it was called at the time within Vodacom.
So just to come in, before you get into where you started, yes. I'm assuming you studied law for 5 years.
Yes.
You studied at the National University.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any specialty that you needed to take for practicing or just your normal law degree?
No, it's just a normal degree. Okay. You don't do ICT law at undergrad, at least in Lesotho.
Oh, okay.
So you can only do it at a higher, when you go higher, beyond the first degree. So that's what happened. And basically, ICT law for me, I learned it through experience.
Oh, okay.
Because this is something new, having joined Vodacom. So that's a sector that I joined immediately after school.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. And then that's where you started?
Yes. So I started in legal. Within the legal division of Vodacom at the time. It was headed by a lady that was heading both legal and regulatory. So I was placed in the legal department, and then I was there for quite some time, and really the interest was picked by the concept that she used to talk about, she used to work on, interconnection, market reviews. These were really foreign to me, but I really felt very much interested in knowing what these were. And that's when I started asking a lot about such concepts. Mm-hmm. And over time, I felt this is the area that I wanted to move into. I did started working on regulatory aspects when I moved to Econet. I was still with the same boss, luckily, so it was easy to learn from her. And then in 2018, when Vodacom advertised a regulatory role, which I'm currently, holding, I thought it is a moment for me to now go into what I really, really was passionate about and what I loved, which I continue to love even today. Yeah.
What do you love about your job?
It's very exciting.
I see you lighting up when you say this is what I love to do.
I do. I like to be challenged. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get out of my comfort zone because I studied law, I know law, but ICT law is a different animal, right? It's communications, telecommunications, it changes all the time. And there's a lot that you need to learn, it stretches you. So I'm one person who likes challenge, who likes to be stretched and learn new things and also learn from other people. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I heard by the grapevine, and I know this for a fact, you were recently seconded to another foreign country somewhere in Africa. Yeah. Can you share a bit about your experience while you were out of the country?
All right. So yes, that's correct. About 7 months ago or 8 months ago, I came back from Ethiopia. I was seconded by Vodacom Lesotho as the regulatory lead for Safaricom Ethiopia. So basically, just to give the viewers context, so Ethiopia is one of the few countries, maybe if not the last country, to liberalize the communication sector. So they basically had a monopoly or one company, telecoms company, for the longest time, around 126 years.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it was time to liberalize or to open up the sector, to have competition in the sector. So Safaricom was established to be a competitor to the incumbent. So I was sent there with many other people from different shareholders within Safaricom Ethiopia, and I was the regulatory lead in that space. Yes.
So what was your experience working in a country? I don't know if it was your first time working out of Lesotho, first of all.
Yeah.
Your experience working out of the country, and I take it they have a first language other than English, so that you should share as well how you were able to employ your skills when you are not speaking their first language, and just about the culture and the work culture in particular.
So a very interesting question, and I'll, as much as I can, I'll try to touch on the issues that you spoke about. So it was the biggest challenge was working in a country where English is not the official language. So there's many different languages in Ethiopia, and then there's an official language which is Amharic.
Oh, okay.
So English is another language, not an official language, right? So here you come into a country, you need to understand their laws, you need to influence policy, you need to guide business even because you're the regulatory lead. And it was a bit difficult. There are people that can understand and speak English, but are also people who can't, or at least there's limitation in terms of understanding, even speaking, and are more comfortable speaking in their language. So that was the biggest challenge, trying to navigate through policy influence, through interpretation of the law, and even speaking to some of the stakeholders outside of Safaricom to try and do my job as effective as I could. But also the beauty of it is that I started learning about other people, also breaking my own stereotypes and barriers in terms of what other people can bring. The work-wise, within Safaricom, there were about 25 or so nationalities. So there was really no time for everybody to bring their own prejudices, and everybody had to bring in their A game. And we learned a lot from each other, and I think it is in Ethiopia that I appreciated one of the Vodacom spirit behaviors, which is getting it done together. That's when I really appreciated the value that each person can bring, no matter who they are, no matter whether English is their first language. There's greatness in all of us, and that's when I really, really appreciate it. And you can see, before I left versus now, I really see so much value in anyone. I really believe in the sort of phrase that and I really, really started to value my colleagues even more as a result of that. So that's one of the lessons again that I learned.
In terms of the culture, what did you enjoy outside work?
Okay. I know a lot of people like to say, "Oh, raw meat,"
yes. You like to share that.
Yeah, I like to share that a lot, because coming into a country and you see people eating raw meat. The first time I saw it, what's the right word? I actually threw up, literally, because I couldn't understand how you're sitting in a restaurant and people are just eating real raw meat. And then I realized that actually raw meat is a cuisine, right? And it is served in big meetings, in special occasions, weddings, and so it's really big. So it was a cultural shock for me. But then I learned to appreciate other people out of that, to say, oh, okay, and the coffee tradition, Ethiopians can drink coffee. And so it's everywhere, and they have very, very beautiful coffee shops. Hey, I usually said to one of my friends, I wish we had this type of coffee shops in Masiri, because a lot of people meet, at those places, and a lot of friendships and networks are established from such. So something that I thought it would be nice. The last thing that I think I've learned in Ethiopia is how patriotic Ethiopians are about everything Ethiopian.
Okay.
I really was challenged in that regard, and I looked back and I said, I don't think as Basotho we are this patriotic about our own things, to the extent that we could see it in people, how difficult it was for other people to use Safaricom over their own, right? Even if they saw competition, people will still sort of gravitate towards their own. They have a lot of things because they have never been colonized.
Yes, yeah.
So that is authentically Ethiopian, and really something that I really love, and it also made me to appreciate myself as a Mosotho, especially in a foreign country.
Except for the raw meat, I know I love the and with something kind of more.
Yes.
There's a nice cuisine that they serve. I love it. Except for the raw meat, the food is delicious. The food is quite delicious. I've had when I was traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
But other than that, Mpoi, you talk to Buhlalehabu Island Tlungile.
Yes.
So I want us to touch on that. I know you're a mentor for other few young lawyers coming up, and I recently saw that you were invited as a speaker at one of the events. Is it SDA? Yeah. Maybe just speak to that. Why is it important for those that came before us to pass the baton, and why are you especially passionate about mentorship?
Thank you very much, Pinks, again for that question. As you know, I've always thought I'm a very introverted person, and I never really thought I would be a speaker and encourage young people and mentor young people. Look, I know I could be good at what I do in my professional space, but then beyond the professional space, I would go into my corner and just be me, right? So when I was approached, so it's an organization within the church, but it's targeted at young people at universities. So they thought, well, we believe you are a person that can come and encourage young people and even mentor some to believe in themselves and to see that they can achieve their dreams. So it was really an interesting what do I call it, presentation that I had to make, session rather, and it talks to mentorship. And for me, when I looked at myself and I was wondering, okay, can I be that person? And then I realized and said, no. When I was introduced by one remarkable lady, and she talked about the accolades, the achievements that I have made, I was really humbled because I didn't even sell myself like that. But out of that, I feel like it's very important to have a mentor. And when those kids were looking at me, I felt I was, and this is something that I understood from one presentation from another lady. She said a mentor is really a tangible representation of a dream realized. Right? So a young girl or boy is sitting at home or wherever they are and looking at you, and you are something that they can touch, right? And they look at you and say, oh, I have this particular dream, and this person achieved this dream. So it was very important that I stood there and encouraged young people to say, look, I started at Levis Neck at Emmanuel Primary School. Lerive, right? Emmanuel Primary School, and well, I went to St. Stephen's High School, but ultimately in my professional space, I've achieved things that I believed young people would really be encouraged and they would reach. Yeah,
and see that there are possibilities.
Exactly.
And maybe speaking to that, what would you say about maybe a pivotal moment in your career, or what would you want to leave as a legacy for other lawyers that are looking up to you and saying, I would probably, wherever I am in my space or any company, or just finished even a university, to say, I would also like to get an experience to work outside Lesotho, like how do they position themselves? Do you know that type of thing, a key moment for you?
I feel like the key moment for me in my career, and I think there's not one moment, but I think it's a journey.
Okay.
And this is my experience, right? I've seen that when you do your work with diligence, with skill, and put your heart into it, there are people who see. There are people who would see value in you. If I may tell you that the person who believed that who interviewed me rather for the role in Ethiopia I met met him way back when I was being interviewed for the role to Vodacom. And really it was one of the reasons that he told me was he's watched my journey and he's really been impressed in the effort that I put in my work, how I was able to hold it together during the license revocation issue that we all know about, and we came out of that, and we are where we are. So it's sort of the characteristics or the way you do your work or execute the responsibilities that you have been given, that will sort of, at least in my case, sort of leave a legacy of how you do your work. And people will always tap into that and say, this is the kind of person I want to speak to, because they have watched your journey over time. Yes. So for me, it wasn't just a one-time event or success. Yes, it was a journey.
So I won't allow you to leave our stage before you talk about motherhood. Now that I'm a mother, I watch with admiration people that are doing their work so diligently like you and who are leaders in their own space. And I just wonder how they do it, because obviously I just had a young one, but I know you have, is she now preteen? Yeah. So now I want to understand, how are you juggling corporate with motherhood, especially at that age? I think she's in high school or whatever age. There's play dates, they are what, they go out, there's discipline that you have to instill. So how do you do it?
It's not easy, right? And it comes, you are a different parent at the different stages of your child's development, right? So with Moachi, who's maybe 2, you're not going to get it right. No matter what you do, you're even going to judge yourself. Am I a bad mother? You might try to throw things because he's young, right? Yeah. But I don't also expect that from my daughter, who is now 13, right? So it has been a journey. I was fortunate enough also that my parents stepped in when she was in primary, so I was pretty much alone in Masiri, right? So I didn't get to play that role as much during her primary years, and now she's in boarding school in South Africa. But it's still important that I'm still active in her life, right? Almost every month I go and visit her. I do have family in Joburg, but I make it a point that I go to Joburg just to spend time with her, just to go there maybe on a weekend out, and then I come back. So there's still an effort that I make, and when she's home, I try as much as I can to be with her, to go out with her. She likes for us to dress the same way. If people can sometimes go into the pictures, she likes to. She said, "Mommy, we need to match." Sometimes she would want me to wear a crop top. I may not be.
Well, you look good. You can wear crop top, so that's allowed.
So but I also discipline my kid. I really don't like ill-disciplined kids. It's important that certain values that I have been brought up with, I instill in my daughter, and I also try to have that flexibility of allowing her to be herself, but also stepping in where I feel like she's not, doing the right things. And for example, I make sure that if we come into a room, my daughter greets whoever is there. I will even ask, did you greet? It's important to have those small lessons instilled in kids, and also to come in and say, no, this is not allowed, no matter how cool I can be as a mom. Yeah.
I can confirm. We won't show her on camera because she specifically said we shouldn't show her on camera, but she's here today and she did greet, so I can confirm. And lastly, you speak about your parents, your relatives. How was that important for you when you're raising your child and following your dreams? Because support system, I don't think we talk enough about support system when we are busy pursuing our career. How did that assist?
Yeah. I will even perhaps touch into a personal issue now that you brought this, in terms of support from family and so I was going through a personal journey when my parents took my kid in primary school, and I was struggling to juggle career, emotions, and so many things. And then my parents stepped in and said, we're going to take her for a while. And I think when I look back, it was difficult, the separation was very difficult. But I look back and I think that was the best decision that my parents were able to do for me. I was able to focus and to get the clarity that I needed to focus on my own journey, healing, and moving on to the next chapter of my life. But more than anything, I was also able to focus on what I want, career aspirations, because I didn't have a lot of distraction. Not to say my kid was a distraction, but I'm just saying the space that I was in, I couldn't do everything, and so it was important for that. So, and my parents have been there. If you watched my journey also, when I was about to leave for Ethiopia, both my parents were there. They took me to the airport. My parents are present parents to this day. I'm old. You would expect that they would be like, oh, do your own thing, whatever. But if there's one thing that God has blessed me with, is present parent, and I really, really am grateful for that.
Present parents, guys. Thank you. Do you have any last words, maybe to young people that are watching and want to get into a space, or also aspiring to be lawyers, different journeys? What would you like to say to them?
Well, I would like to maybe to say a quote that sort of has propelled me in my career, right?
My sister is very spiritual.
It's actually from a guy called Maponga J.
Oh, okay.
If you are open-minded, you can listen to Maponga. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he says you cannot feature in a future you can't picture.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And for me, I've always said, I need to picture it, to see it, and I will achieve it, right? So I want young people to find motivation for themselves. I found that call to be my motivation. It may not necessarily be your motivation, right? But find something that keeps you going. And also in your professional journey, you can't go on without having a mentor. I think I've also realized that, recently, understanding where you want to go, for you to get there, you need to have somebody that you look up to and say, oh, okay, this person has been there. Again, going back to that quote that find somebody who is a representation of a dream realized. So that way you have sort of a mirror that you can say, okay, I'm here, she's there or he's there, I want to get there. And then you will have something that to sort of, build towards, because you have something that is real, that is tangible, rather than maybe operating in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I think that has worked for me. So I would really encourage young people to find mentors, no matter where they are in their lives, find a mentor, and also know exactly where you want to go. So that then, so a mentor sort of pulls you along to reach your goals. Yeah.
I'm very inspired. Thank you so much for coming to the channel. I'm quite inspired. Maybe you should be my mentor.
I don't think
I don't think the same space.
No, either way, I think you're doing amazing in your channel. I'm really, really happy that you're back.
By the way, she's been.
Exactly.
When are you coming back? I should be the first guest because she was supposed to come last year. But anyway, thank you so much for coming, Mpoi Nkhasi. We look forward to seeing many more amazing things that you'll achieve in your career, and all the best for the next steps.
Thank you very much, Pinks. And I must say thank you for, believing that I could be one of the people that could be on your channel. That is because sometimes I feel like, am I good enough? But I'm really happy I'm here. So I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.